banyak juga nih yang udah master di luar negeri, balik-balik kok kayaknya karir gue malah tidak segemilang punya karirnya teman gue, malah tambah insecure loh. Gak mungkin ada orang yang karirnya nggak ada failure atau rejection gitu ya. I really think of rejection as just part of the journey. Kalau failure itu bikin kita berhenti bermimpi, failure itu menjadi excuse untuk kita tidak mencoba lagi. That's when we have truly failed.
Welcome to Follow Your Flow Podcast. Kita membantu lifelong learner untuk berproses menuju life model yang lebih optimal dan sustainable. Di sini, kita akan belajar dari banyak sumber, mulai dari lifelong learner yang kita interview, sampai insight yang gue dan Mbak Ika dapat dari buku, artikel, podcast, maupun hasil refleksi pribadi kami. Di akhir setiap episode, lo akan mendapatkan science-backed pragmatic step yang bisa membantu lo untuk mentransformasi hidup lo. Hope you enjoy this episode. Hi again, Pris.
Hai Gen Rio.
So this is the second part of our podcast. Kalau belum nonton yang first partnya, silahkan nonton first partnya atau dengerin first partnya. For this part, kita akan fokus lebih ngebahas kayak pertanyaan yang sering ditanyain ke Priscilla, right? Dan gimana sih biasanya Priscilla menjawab pertanyaan tersebut. Karena as konteks, kalau yang belum kenal Priscilla ini kan selain kerja di Tokopedia, dia ini aktif untuk sharing konten di social media, terutama di Instagram. Kalau lo belum pada follow, silahkan follow. Dan dia sering banget kayak misalnya buka question box, terus kayak ask me any questions gitu kan, terus orang-orang nanya. Atau ketika dia ngepost, orang-orang suka nanya di komennya gitu. Dan kayaknya ada nih beberapa pertanyaan yang sering banget ditanyakan gitu kan. Dan cuma mungkin kalau dijawabnya di IG mungkin sepotong-sepotong. So maybe this time bisa dapet gambaran yang lebih utuh gitu kan tentang approach-nya Priscilla or Priscilla's recommendation terhadap kayak pertanyaan tersebut. So let's start with that. Jadi ada 5 pertanyaan, mungkin nanti ada anak-anaknya di setelah kita ngobrol ya. Let's start with the first one. Gue yakin lo banyak sering banget ditanyain pertanyaan ini. Karena gini kayak, so first one is about MBA, right? Karena Harvard is a very prestigious school, right? Dan I think kalau gue ngeliat dari Instagram lu kayak banyak deh yang nanya kayak, Kak aku pengen masuk Harvard gitu. Terus kayak gimana caranya, right? Nah, gimana lu biasanya merespon pertanyaan tersebut?
Sebenarnya ada di balik pertanyaan itu ada 2 pertanyaan. Pertama, cara masuk Harvard atau cara melakukan aplikasi yang baik ke Harvard. Dan yang kedua adalah, should I even be applying for masters gitu kan? Should I even be applying for an MBA? Mungkin aku jawab yang lebih gampang dulu, yaitu cara persiapan aplikasi terbaik untuk Harvard Business School. Di sini tentunya gampangnya dapatkan nilai GMAT yang terbaik, essay-nya juga menggugah hati, dan harusnya bisa encapsulate your mission, encapsulate why you need to go to the school. But mungkin kalau untuk aplikasi terbaik di Harvard ini, yang teman-teman mesti kenalin juga, this is not a one-way, it's not a one-way application gitu loh. Harvard does not exist to fulfill your ego. Harvard sendiri sebagai sekolah punya misi. Their mission is to educate leaders who make a difference in the world. Nah, jadi di luar semua administrasi dan urusan aplikasi yang teman-teman harus fulfill, ask yourself gitu kan, like, am I a leader who want to make a difference in the world? And if I am a leader who makes a difference in the world, how can I showcase that gitu kan? Nah, the best sulitnya adalah even the best GMAT score cannot make up for the fact that mungkin di track record kita tidak banyak mengambil action gitu. Anggaplah aku seseorang yang bilangnya, aku mau memiliki gerakan di sustainable fashion gitu kan. Use, more environmental friendly, use more recycled materials gitu. Tapi track recordku selama ini aku bekerja di accounting, aku nggak punya ekstrakurikuler, aku nggak aktif di komunitas fashionnya sendiri. Jadi ini kayak kalau aku jadi Harvard Admissions Officer, aku ngebaca aplikasi, kok nggak masuk akal ya. Kata orang ini passionate terhadap sustainable fashion. Tapi orang ini tidak melakukan satu hal pun yang berkaitan dengan passion itu, gitu kan. Nah, jadi sebenarnya mungkin advice-nya di luar again soal admin dan aplikasi yang teman-teman bisa temukan di medium blognya aku, like the most important thing is to tell a coherent story. Tell a story that makes sense gitu. Kalau kamu bilang kamu mau memiliki karir di bidang investment, untuk apa? Pertama untuk apa? And how do you plan to give back to the community? Karena again, Harvard is not there to make people rich, right? They said that they want to educate leaders who make a difference in the world. So if how you make a difference is through finance, you need to explain, why you're passionate about that career, what have you done to get there, and how you're planning to make a difference in the world through that vocation. Mungkin that's the best advice I can give untuk application and how to make yourself a competitive candidate. Kalau pertanyaan, Kak, aku butuh master atau enggak? Menurut aku jawabannya adalah tergantung. Tergantung what is your long-term aspiration, tergantung karir apa yang kamu sekarang lagi kejar. I will say though that majority of career, terutama karir yang lagi populer banget sekarang di Indonesia, itu tidak membutuhkan master. Nah, jadi kalau ditanya payoff di pekerjaannya sendiri, hampir nggak ada. Just because you go to an MBA, ke Harvard kayak segala macam, if you apply to Tokopedia, that does not automatically get you a high position nowadays. Karena startups, banyak perusahaan yang populer, they still value real life experience. There is so much that you get from working nowadays that even the best master's degree, even from the best schools, cannot make up for that fact. Kak, berarti apakah semua master itu tidak berguna? Enggak, gitu loh. Master punya nilai-nilai yang lain. Nah, whether it's worth it or not, balik lagi ke teman-teman and your priorities in life. Mungkin aja dengan master, terutama master yang di luar negeri, you experience living in a different world. Horizonnya terbuka, kalian punya wawasan yang berbeda dan punya perspektif yang berbeda. Mungkin aja you gain a whole new network from the alumni network gitu kan. You spend time with 10, 20 people di luar negeri bareng-bareng, jadi terpupuk relationship-nya, and you can leverage that network in your career mungkin satu hari. Apakah immediately when you graduate? Bisa iya, bisa enggak gitu kan. But not necessary. Bisa juga you have a thirst, mungkin kalian lagi switching career. Dulu ngambilnya marketing, pengen banget tiba-tiba ke data science. And you feel like you need a strong knowledge base to move into that data science yang nggak bisa di-fulfill lewat night school atau online classes. If you really feel strongly and you think it's worth it, it's worth giving up 2 years of your career, tambah lagi uangnya juga nggak sedikit, then by all means go for it.
Wow, thanks Pris. Tadi menurut gue, I think some of the things yang strikes me juga adalah pertama, Harvard is not there to fulfill your ego. It's very powerful sih, right? I think such statement, karena again, it depends on sebenarnya tujuan kita ngapain kan for masters, right? And I think secondly yang tadi actionable banget adalah if we claim that Harvard is the way to achieve our goal, ketika kita nulis esainya ya prove it, right? Jangan ngomong kayak bahwa we are into education or sustainable fashion or whatnot, tapi sebenarnya tidak terreflect dimanapun that we've done something about it, right? And the third piece yang juga tadi lo bilang adalah kalau soal whether or not should go to business school or masters, ya it depends. It depends on so many factors, kayak lo pengen kerja di mana. One thing yang pengen gue highlight dari yang tadi lo jelasin itu adalah I think a lot of people don't talk a lot about trade-off, right? Karena sebenarnya the 2 years that we spend in master, mau MBA atau masters, itu kan sebenarnya the time that we can use for something else, right? I think that comparison tuh lumayan gak banyak dibahas gitu these days.
Ya, mungkin gak tahu kenapa ya, kalau kalian masih muda banget, what I tend to see adalah kalau masih baru sekolah, kayaknya ngelihat master, terus sekolah yang ternama gitu, kayaknya wow banget gitu loh, prestigious banget. At the same time, aku juga ngelihat kandidat-kandidat yang balik dari master, and then mereka kecewa. Kenapa? Karena mereka ngelihat teman-teman mereka yang tidak master di posisi-posisi yang tinggi, posisi-posisi tahun ketiga, tahun keempat, bahkan tahun kelima, if they have an accelerated career path. Jadi banyak juga nih yang udah master di luar negeri, balik-balik, kok kayaknya karir gue malah tidak segemilang punya karirnya teman gue, malah tambah insecure loh, bukannya tambah happy itu. Karena ini kenapa terjadi? Karena you took master with one assumption gitu. You thought that the value was that a great master is gonna guarantee a good career path. Sama sekali enggak. Ya, teman-teman master dimanapun, termasuk di Harvard Business School, bakal tetap harus go through interview. And you will still go through rejection. Karena companies look for fit, companies look for relevant experience. Bukan, most companies, frankly speaking, sekolah ternama, tapi kalau fieldnya nggak relevan, kalau you were not prepared for the interview, ya sama aja bohong, gitu.
That's really powerful. Karena I think mungkin banyak orang yang berpikir bahwa oh ya udah just because masuk sekolah ini then everything will be easy. Padahal tadi you highlight that again masih tetap ada interview, dan once you get the job juga you still need to add value, right? Karena bahkan to some extent pressure-nya bisa jadi lebih gede kan, that you come from like a reputable school, then people
Benar.
expect you that oh you are that superstar.
Iya. Satu advice lagi aku mau kasih
Boleh.
dalam aplikasi adalah do complete research. Yang paling unbelievable is ada orang yang nge-DM aku, Kak, aku mau daftar ke Harvard tapi aku nggak bisa nemuin informasi aplikasinya.
Hmm.
Dalam artiku, saya kalau kamu aja nggak bisa nemuin cara how to apply to the school, if you can't even do that, how can you even succeed in a school with some of the world's brightest minds gitu? Kalau
Hmm.
kamu TOEFL atau IELTS-nya aja berat banget, how can you have a competitive GMAT score to even qualify you as a candidate gitu? Nah, mungkin ini ada reality check ya buat teman-teman. Harvard Business School, they do require you to have amazing English. Jadi kalau English is not even your forte, you're still taking English classes, trust me, you're not gonna enjoy getting to school in Harvard Business School for one bit. Every day in Harvard, you have to read 3 different cases. Semuanya tuh 20-30 halaman. You have to read it so fast. Ketika kelas, everybody will speak English, everybody will speak fast, everybody will be so smart. How can you expect yourself to absorb that information? Jadi, by the way, because metodenya Harvard Business School itu juga dengan case method, ketika kita tidak bisa menguasai bahasa Inggris yang baik, kita juga tidak berkontribusi to our classmates' learning experience. Jadi, there is a reason gitu loh, why getting to the school is very competitive, why it's so hard. Because the admission committee is trying to guard the learning experience. You're not there to learn, you're also there to teach others as a classmate. You're also there to inspire others. Gitu.
I think that's so like a great one, Pris. And for the listeners yang mungkin kayak what Pris said itu kayak hits hard, sebenarnya juga bisa requestin juga gitu kayak is this really what I need or is this just something that I want, right? And dan di episode kita yang sebelumnya Pris juga udah banyak bilang tentang rethinking our definition of success, right? Because just because we don't go to HBS, it doesn't mean kita nggak bisa jadi successful person, right?
Bener banget Rio. Banyak orang kayak pikir 1 atau 2 sekolah ternama. Sebenarnya many people like to aspire to masters because they think it's gonna be the solution to their insecurity issues. But it's not. I know Harvard classmates who got into HBS and they were disappointed. They say that, oh, I don't get much out of this experience. Karena mungkin mereka udah kerjanya udah bagus. Ternyata yang ada Caribbean School mereka tambah utang pribadi, tapi they did not get what they wanted to learn out of that experience gitu.
Awesome. Nah, I think that's the question on MBA. Now let's talk another real topic, which is about failure, right? So, when I check on your LinkedIn profile, terus gue ngeliat kayak, wow, it's very, very, kayak smooth banget gitu, kayak perjalanan karirnya. You studied in Oxford, then you work in Kearney, then you move to HBS, then you work in Tokopedia, terus kayak kelihatan banget kayak it's like progressing, right? So again, what are some of the career failures or hiccups that not many people know about?
So I think many people, it's easy to assume someone always has a smooth ride from their
Yeah.
LinkedIn. Ya teman-teman namanya juga LinkedIn ya, bukan tempat curcol gitu. That's not where you put your biggest failures or your biggest obstacles in your career. You don't put that on your LinkedIn, FYI aja. You also don't put that typically on your Instagram. Tapi I think the important thing aku mau share di sini adalah teman-teman, justru my failure is a big part of my learning gitu. Contohnya, ketika aku masih muda, I started as a consultant. I still had to learn a lot when it comes to communication. I had to learn a lot when it comes to analysis. My background was in sociology, it was in writing. I did not have the knacks for Excel. So I had to stay up late and work a lot. I had a manager who said that I was not good enough and I had to work on a lot harder on my analytical skills. So I really took that. Mungkin kalau failure lainnya nggak bisa dibilang banyak banget. But I will say that there were many moments of rejection. I think that's more relatable kali ya. I think I did not get into the companies that I aspired to karena pas aku mau graduated, of course I wanted to go to kayak banyak banget think tank gitu kan, kayak the Brookings Institute. Sekarang orang lihat, oh Kearney is an amazing company, but Kearney was not my first choice company gitu loh. So you guys don't see that, right? Kayak ketika aku udah di HBS, yes, HBS is great and it's the school that I wanted to go into. But during HBS juga, I applied to many internships. Guess what? When you are 1 out of 900 students applying for internships, you will get rejections too. Karena kan Mungkin you feel like, oh, HBS cuma ada satu orang. Enggak, actually enggak. When you're at HBS trying to get a summer internship, you are applying with like 900 other students at the same time. So I also got rejected from some opportunities at the time gitu. By now, I'm much older and I realized like, nggak mungkin ada orang yang karirnya nggak ada failure atau rejection gitu ya. So for now, I really think of rejection as just part of the journey. Don't take it too hard. Move on to the next thing as fast as you can, because that is what matters in the end. If we let failures, right, really bring us down, that's when we have truly failed. Kalau kita bikin failure itu bikin kita berhenti bermimpi. Failure itu menjadi excuse untuk kita tidak mencoba lagi.
Wow, wow. And thanks for sharing some of that rejections, Pris. Because I think mungkin, people might make assumption about you that you always get what you want. Because
Oh my
kayak,
God.
maksudnya kan gitu kan. Karena kayak lo dapetnya kayak, wah kayak all like the good
Yeah.
things gitu, right? Padahal kan sebenarnya kayak behind that, there are also rejections, right?
Mhm.
That, people do not know, right? And
Yeah.
again, thanks for sharing that and making it more normal. Dan menurut gue, I think to some extent lo juga sering share itu kan in your social media about your insecurities, which I really, really like. Karena again, that's like the real thing, right?
Yeah. Yeah. You will, by the way, guys, you always get someone just asked me, right? Kayak, Kak, gimana ya biar nggak fail ya? Then stop living. Kayak even the world's greatest CEOs, right? They fail. Even the world's greatest companies, maybe not as an individual, but even as companies, you will fail gitu. So it's not about whether or not you will fail. It's about what will you do if you fail.
Yeah.
And what you'll, whether you will make it as a learning experience or not.
Well noted. Next question. Nah, Kak, kan you studied in world-class institutions and you've been working well in well-respected organizations gitu kan. Kayak in spite of that, in spite of all your accomplishment gitu, apa sih hal-hal yang masih lo insecure about and how you deal with them?
Of course, number one is I am always insecure sometimes about my age. I know that everyone always aspire to have achieve early success. But what people don't talk about is when you are successful early, you always wonder like, gue kekurangan nggak sih? Gitu loh. Contohnya di Tokopedia, I was put in a leadership position quite early on. I believe I was like 28 or 29 when I already started managing a very large team. In fact, I started managing people older than me or people who with more years of working experience than I did gitu loh. So I think it's easy to sometimes ask like, do I have what it takes gitu kan? Like, am I worth it? Am I someone who is worthy of leading others gitu? From time, of course, I don't shrink with that insecurity. I just let that insecurity motivate me to learn more, to mature faster, to learn faster as a leader. I think that's one big one. Second one is I'm very, very insecure about my looks. This is probably the one I've never talked about ever in public. If you notice my Instagram, even though I'm active on Instagram, I rarely post things with my face. Even on my feed, you can count that it's maybe like less than a third of my feed has my face. I'm not sure why, but I think our society just media and fashion world, they make you very insecure about your looks, and you let certain voices get into your head. I'll tell a funny story, but I was always so insecure about my looks that 2 years ago, January last year, I got chickenpox, and so I got chickenpox all over my body that I still have scars. I now have on my back I have a lot of dots from chickenpox. They have faded, but it's definitely not seamless.
Benar-benar hilang gitu kan?
Nggak benar-benar hilang.
Yeah.
And then imagine if you have been complaining for 5 years, like, oh my God, I'm not pretty enough or I'm not this enough, and then you get chickenpox, and then you pray to God, oh my God, back then it was so good, right? Like, I think life is all about, it's a funny story about perspective, because you really don't know or appreciate what you have until someone takes it away from you, right? You don't realize what a privilege it was to have a body with no scars until after you get chickenpox, and then you realize you should have appreciated that moment much more. Yeah. I think the last insecurity that I still continue to have conversation with myself is maybe not, I always second guess whether what I say in social media is good enough or is worth sharing. On the one hand, I know many people who felt they are helped by my sharing, But there are parts of me who thinks like, oh my God, you're so narcissistic for sharing this. There's, all these haters.
Mm.
One could always argue that people think, of me a certain way. So I can be self-conscious about my writing sometimes. But yes, I think these are some of my insecurities. I've never shared these before, but I guess now you guys realize I'm just human. And whether you go to this school or that school, it doesn't matter. Every one of us have insecurities. It's really human. I've learned to live and make peace with my insecurity. It's not about whether you have or have not insecurity. It's about what will you do. I realized that speaking to some of my mentors who are very, very successful people, they too have insecurities. Even though I look up to them like everything in your life is perfect, like you're amazing, right? But what makes them really successful is not that they have zero insecurity, is that they don't let their insecurity stop them from doing the things that matter. They don't let their insecurity stop them from trying. They don't let their insecurity make them feel worthless and shrink into just a cycle of dark negativity, right? You just learn to live with it. You reconnect with people who love you and support you and help you get different perspectives.
Wow. Wow. And from what you explain, I think I learned that again, insecurity is normal. Jadi kayak nobody's immune to that, ya, unless maybe some group of people. Tapi like you said, right, kayak maksudnya kayak I've been hearing juga even for way more accomplished people yang udah bikin billion-dollar startup, even ketika ditanya kayak what's your insecurity, the question is the same. I don't think I'm good enough. I don't know if I'm fit for this role to lead this billion-dollar company, right? And I think that, hearing orang-orang yang juga sebenarnya udah kelihatannya kayak up there, right? And saying that they still have insecurity, I think normalizes that it's okay. But I really like what you said. The successful people are not the people who are immune to insecurity, but they decide to do something about it. They still persevere. They don't let that shrink them dan bikin mereka jadinya tidak making action, right? That's very powerful. Yeah.
I also want to share something, to my friends who are insecure right now. I want to share something from one of my favorite authors, Brene Brown, who does a lot of work on shame and vulnerability. I think she mentioned, I'm sorry I can't quote the video. Brene Brown mentioned that you're not going to be successful from covering your weaknesses. You're going to be successful by doubling down on your strength. So remember that. If you're insecure and you keep paying attention to your weakness and what you're not perfect about, you're just going to be as good as everyone else. You're just going to be covering what you're not good at and trying to be mediocre or where people are, normal. But if you choose to double down on your strength, where you can really shine, that's where your success is going to come from. So don't let thoughts about your insecurity cloud your vision of what you're truly great at. I always personally like to ask people the question, what are your 3 superpowers? Because your superpowers, what you're already good at, what you're amazing at more than other people, is what's going to matter more in the long run versus what you're insecure about. So pay attention to your superpowers and nurture that.
Wow. We'll keep that in mind. That's very practical. Thanks, Pris. Like to remind us to focus on our strengths or on our superpowers than our insecurities. Cool. So now the next question, the 4th one, around career planning, right? Karena I believe a lot of people ask you for like, I feel lost in my career, right? And as you said, right, I think kayak beberapa tahun terakhir semakin banyak pilihan-pilihan pekerjaan. I think back in the days when I think we just graduated from college, mungkin opsinya itu-itu aja. Tapi sekarang kan jadi banyak banget, right? Well, of course it gives like a lot of opportunities to explore, tapi juga bisa overwhelming. So what would be your advice for people who are still figuring out what they want to do in life?
So for people who are still confused or, they don't have a clue or they're not as yet sure for their career planning, my advice is 3. Research, reflect, and realign. Research means if you have no clue, banyak banget ya aku tanya, kamu jadi sukanya apa? Nggak tahu kak, aku juga nggak tahu gitu kan. Kamu mau kemana? Nggak tahu kak gitu. Then have coffee, right? Have coffee with 5 of your friends in different jobs, ideally jobs that you don't mind being at, and you ask them, hey, what's the best part about your job? What does it take to do your job? And what is the suckiest part of your job? Because that will start opening up your horizon and your knowledge about different jobs. And then from there, you start narrowing down, oh, I can see myself in this field. I can see myself in this field, right? Have that short list. Then after that, reflect. When you say reflect means, hearing from your friends, right? Oh, kalau di marketing begini, kalau di product begini, di engineering begini, di business begini. Ask yourself, hey, which one is more me? Which one is the life that I want to lead? Which, the job of product, for example, it can get really technical, it can get really boring sometimes. Can I deal with boredom? The job of, marketing will have to deal with many tight deadlines. Can I deal with that? Can I deal with creative block? Can I deal with the nature of the job? Is that something that I'm going to enjoy? Now, the wrong question to ask is, where is the job where there is no bad part? There is no job with no bad part. You want a job that makes a lot of money? Get ready for the hours. Get ready for the responsibility, right? Every job has trade-offs. So ask yourself, which job is the one that's going to fulfill you the most despite its challenges, despite its bad parts? And finally, the third advice is to realign. If you are at a job or at a company that is taking you really far from what your main calling is, then start making plans to realign your current reality to the career that you're trying to aspire to. If you're still really, really confused, guys, about the life that you want to lead, a fun question I like to ask is think of who are you jealous of? Because normally the person, whether they're a public figure or they're your friend, if you're jealous of someone, you're jealous of something. It could be their lifestyle. It could be where they work. It could be what they accomplish in their job. That's actually a really good hint at what you deep down you really want for yourself. So use that jealousy as a way to clue in to what you really want to do.
Interesting. I really like that framework though. I think it's research, reflect, and realign, right? And I think your question is thought-provoking, right? By reflecting on someone you are jealous about, you want to be that, right? So what are some of the characteristics that person has that you don't? Typically that leads to a sign that you want to be that type of person. Yeah, I think reflect part, I think itu sejalan dengan the book that I read. So I'm always a big fan of Mark Manson. Dia tuh kayak, I think there is one question yang powerful banget yang dia sering suggest. Itu adalah when we wanna make decision, one of the question that we need to ask adalah which pain do I wanna sustain, right? Karena kayak kalau ditanya kayak mau kerja yang manajernya baik, semua orang mau yang bayarannya banyak, semua mau, right? Tapi kayak okay, between long hours, boring work, bad managers and all this stuff, which one that we wanna sustain to get what we want? Because to say bahwa gue pengen kerjaan yang sempurna tuh gampang gitu kan. But there is always trade-off.
Ya, mungkin di sini yang kita bisa pikir, completely agree with that. Every job have trade-offs. Every job will have its crappy parts. When I was a management consultant, I learned a lot. It was an intellectually stimulating environment, but the hours were really long. I could not even go to my sister's birthday party on a Sunday sometimes. So I had to work weekends. It was very demanding. Like nowadays, like I can't, like if you ask me, I can't do those hours anymore. It's because my life priorities have changed. I'm a married woman. I want to have a more wholesome life. I also want to have time to engage my community. So I can't have that kind of job anymore. Now, why did I share that? Because number one, while there are trade-offs, maybe there are times when at the start of your career, it's okay to work long hours because that's a time for you to learn. That's a time for you to, grow that stamina, and there's many things for you to learn. But at some point, if you're already, having a family and family starts to become more and more of an important priority, then you have to realign. Like, am I in a job that allows me to be there for my family or be the kind of father that I want or be the kind of mother that I want to be? Because job, guys, remember, you're not just marrying, what the job title, you're not just marrying the salary. You're going to be marrying the job's culture. You're going to be marrying the job's hours. You're going to be marrying the job's colleagues. So when you make a decision to move somewhere, you make sure that you're looking at the whole package and not just one or two parts.
Oh, that's really true. That's really true to assess the job on the holistics gitu kan. Karena I think sometimes the trap of, choosing a job adalah we want A, we don't want B, but that job comes with A and B, right?
Yeah.
So take it or leave it.
Just like a little practical advice. So many young people, Kak, aku mau ke healthcare karena missionnya company itu bagus gitu kan.
Yeah.
Honey, most companies in Indonesia today make amazing impact.
Yeah.
So that company's mission statement, it's not going to make a huge difference in your day-to-day life. You know what's going to make a huge difference? Who you report to, that's going to make a huge difference. The company culture is going to make a huge difference, whether it pays well or not, whether it gives you the career progression or the career track that you really need. That's going to matter more than like the company's mission statement. Like most companies' mission statement looks good, and they're always going to operate in industries that are attractive in their own way. So move away from these shallow signals and start looking at factors that will really, really influence your personal happiness, your personal well-being, and career progression.
That's a powerful one. Karena sering banget kan sekarang tuh pertanyaannya masih di level makro yang kayak which company, which industry, which functions, right?
Yeah.
Well, it's a good start, tapi kayak even sometimes at the offer stage people do not know the answer to kayak manajernya kayak gimana ya, timnya kayak gimana ya, culture-nya kayak gimana ya. Padahal that's what's going to determine the enjoyment, right?
And in a company that is really big, guys, working for one team and working for another team, one function from another, they're gonna have really different flavor, right? The pace, the culture. There are micro cultures in a large company. Like when you're talking about Tokopedia or Gojek, every team, given their workflow and the nature of their work, is also still gonna feel very different.
Totally agree. Makanya tadi I think the research part that you mentioned in the beginning makin penting, right? Especially kalau misalnya you can have a chance to talk with someone who does the job, itu akan ngebantu banget sih. Cool. Now the final question on this, Q&A adalah tentang imposter syndrome, right? So it's very easy to get intimidated by other people's accomplishment, right? Apalagi kayak sekarang semakin banyak diglorify of early success. And you touch also a bit about this. So what would be your advice for people who feel that they are not good enough?
When people feel that they're not good enough, oftentimes they are comparing someone else's strength with their own weakness, right? I see my friend have built a company at so-and-so age, and I'm still in school at my age. I have not done very much. Well, you're comparing your friend's strength with your own weakness. But that's not just fair. That's unfair to you. That's also unfair to your friend. Because number one, that friend, while they might have been a co-founder at an amazing startup, they're just at the beginning, early stage of their own personal mission. They're not at the point of success. So number one, remember, when you compare, you want to compare apple to apple. You're not just comparing the job title, but ask yourself, did both of you have the same starting point in life? Did both of you have the same education? Did both of you have the same opportunity? Maybe you had to overcome more circumstances. Maybe your journey had to be longer. Maybe you pick up more wisdom along in your journey, and your friend pick up a different wisdom. So I think the best way for you to not be intimidated by other people's accomplishments is, number one, move away from comparing just one factor to start comparing the whole story. Number two is appreciate what you have, pay respect for your own journey, write down, 5 or 10 things that you have to overcome in your life and what you have accomplished in your life. And you will appreciate much more where you are now in life. The final one, it's the matter of attitude. My final advice is learn to be happy for others. So when you see someone else's strength, learn to be happy for them and be inspired and learn from that. Vice versa, when you see someone else's weakness, don't just like, I'm better than that person. Like, that is not a very good attitude. When you see someone else weak in one area, then you learn to be compassionate and you learn to be grateful for what you have. Because that person, who may not be good in communication or who may not have great, project management skills, maybe they did not have the experience or the mentors that you have had in your life. So have that attitude when you see someone else's strength and when you see someone else's weaknesses. At the end, there is nothing like focusing on your own mission and focusing on your own calling, because we all have different journeys. We all have different, I think, circumstances. One person can have amazing success in their career, but they're currently going through certain health or certain family challenges. And they would much rather, certain people would much rather trade their financial success for your health or for your healthy relationships. Many people will tell you that.
Yeah, wow. I think the three things are very practical, Pris. I think the last point that you mentioned fits into the first one, right? Bahwa kayak when we compare, kita nggak compare di satu bagian aja, but the whole sum, right? Because sometimes behind someone's success, mungkin ada hal yang dia wish kayak, I'm okay to not be this successful as long as misalnya I'm healthier. Or
Yeah.
I have, more time with my family, let's say, right? So again, I think sometimes we don't make like a fair comparison. Karena kita comparing kayak the best part of someone with our life, right? Padahal sebenarnya, again, maybe quote unquote they also want our life gitu.
Yeah. And then you realize when I try to ask you to do a fair comparison, it is actually a pointless and impossible exercise. Because
Exactly.
how can you compare someone's life with another person's life? With the million of different factors and circumstances that happen in that person's life. So you actually can't compare people. So again, what is really left to do is to admire someone else's strength and success and learn from it. And also stay humble and be compassionate when we are stronger than others.
Oh, what a great way to end. Thanks you so much, Fris, for your time.
Thank you so much for this super fun, super deep and insightful conversation. I thoroughly enjoyed it.
Bye-bye. Thank you banget ya udah dengerin episode kita kali ini. Kalau lo suka sama konten ini dan merasa kalau lebih banyak orang perlu mendengarnya, please share this to your network. Karena itu akan membantu mereka untuk menemukan konten ini dan mentransformasi hidup mereka. Jangan lupa juga untuk follow kita di Instagram, karena setiap harinya kita akan post bite-sized content untuk merefresh apa yang teman-teman sudah pelajari di podcast ini. Check out our Instagram @followyourflow.id. Terakhir, ada free course di website kita, yaitu tentang setting up your minimum viable priority, di mana lo bisa memahami prioritas hidup lo dan cara yang lebih konkret untuk mencapainya. Yuk, dapatkan akses di course-nya dengan check out our website di www.followyourflow.id.